Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It is almost the end of July, which means that we are pretty much halfway through 2019. And I thought it'd be a good time to sort of sit down and talk about the palettes that I have yet to reckon with or make a decision about regarding whether or not they can stay in my eyeshadow collection. And I really wanted to use 2019 as a year to decide that. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk first about the process of how I've been testing out palettes and then show you guys the ones that I have. So basically throughout this year, it's worked out really well that the Lorac Mega Pro palette that I have been panning since 2018 really requires me to pull in a lot of outside shadows. I'm pretty sure I only have what I consider one lid color left in that eyeshadow palette, and the rest of them are all crease shades. And so I've really been drawn to bringing in other palettes. However, it's been a difficult process in the sense that because I'm wanting to make good progress on my Lorac Mega Pro palette, I've been really only using lid shades inside palettes. I have a hard time justifying using crease shades and outside palettes that aren't from the Lorac Mega Pro palette. So I think that is partly what has hindered my progress, but I need to just sort of get over it and get going on these. So basically what I've been doing is I've been going into my drawer and pulling out 2 or 3, sometimes even 4 palettes that I want to work with or reckon with, and I've been working with them, and when I make a decision about them, I then either will put them back into my collection if they survive, or I put them into my get rid of bin. I normally talk about it with you guys as well, just to keep you updated on the palettes that aren't making the cut. And then I go back in and I pull out new palettes. So currently I have 4 palettes that I have been sort of testing out and playing with. I have the Winky Luxe Kitten palette that was in a BoxyCharm box that looks like this. I'm actually wearing this pink shade on my lid today. Then I have Orchid from the Lorac Mega Pro palette on my crease. I've also been testing out the Jouer Essential Matte and Shimmer eyeshadow palette that I got in a Jouer mystery box that looks like this. I have the one and only palette I own from The Balm. It's the In the Balm of Your Hand Greatest Hits Volume 1 palette. There are 2 cream shadows that have definitely gone off that I will not be using, but then the rest of the palette is some of their greatest hits in blush and then also eyeshadow. I'm definitely wanting to see if this is a palette that I want to keep for both face and eye products. And then the last one that I currently have that's been sitting in my drawer the longest because I can't seem to make a decision about it is the Disney Designer Collection ColourPop It's a Princess Thing palette, which looks like this. So these are the ones that I currently am focused on, and we'll hopefully make a decision on them in the near future. But the rest of what's inside my bucket, I have yet to touch. Now, my rule of thumb going into 2019 was that regardless of how much I have loved a palette in the past, I still wanted to scrutinize it and see if it belonged in my collection. So some of these I definitely feel like I will probably keep, but I still want to scrutinize them. So I'm gonna go ahead and show those to you first. The first 2 are from Lorac. I have my Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales special edition palette that was given to me. I have liked a few of the looks I have made with this, but I have to decide if I want to keep this in its entirety because it's a super bulky, big palette, and it's also one that you can't buy anymore, so is it really worth me keeping or not? I'm not quite sure. I've got my Lorac Refined Romance palette. This has both eye and cheek products in here, and so I'm definitely iffy on if I want to keep any of these face products, if I like any of the shadows. I don't know this palette very well, but I do love the tones in it. One that I'm not really that hesitant on, but I'm still gonna give it some scrutiny, is my Jaclyn Hill palette from Morphe. I've actually contemplated in years past panning this or thinking I'm gonna pan it, but there is just an infinite amount of product in here. But I'd be curious to know if there are any shades in this palette that I really don't like and would consider like taking out. But I do love the fact that I feel like this palette has a lot of lid colors, which your girl's all about. All right, now let's talk about some palettes that I haven't really reckoned with because they overwhelm me, I guess is the right way to label it. And the first one I have is another collaboration with Jaclyn Hill. It is the Vault collection that came out. There's the Armed and Gorgeous, Dark Magic, Bling Boss, and Ring the Alarm. Whenever I go to pull one of these out, I find myself being unsure of how I want to use them. Like, for example, Ring the Alarm. When I look at this palette, two things happen for me creatively. One, I feel like there are shades that look almost the exact same, and so what do I do with them? And then I'm also left wondering, like, how will this create a look that is realistic to my lifestyle? Like, I'm not someone who's going to blend 15 different very similar shades on my eye that still look essentially baby puke. Like, I'm not going to do that. And I also am not going to put like Las Vegas-esque eyeshadow on my eye and like hang out in my apartment. So I feel like with these Jaclyn Hill palettes, I'm probably either going to declutter them in their entirety, or I'm probably going to keep very select shades in here and not keep them just as they are. Because no matter what, with all four of these palettes, even though I like a lot of shades within them, whenever I go to pull out a palette and then go to use it, I just find myself not using it. And I definitely feel like this is one of those collections that I really bought it and went wild for it because of Jaclyn Hill, and I didn't really think through, like, one, do I need all four of these palettes? Two, will I really use these shades? I just really pulled the trigger too soon. And this collection especially has made me really, really think twice about, one, buying collaborations no matter how much I love a influencer, and two, thinking a lot about overall, what is that palette offering me? I also have another Morphe palette, Do We See a Theme? This was the original Jaclyn Hill, I guess, collaboration. Basically, when she first became obsessed with Morphe, maybe you know the story, maybe you don't, she pulled out a bunch of their single shadows that she really spoke highly about and that she loved, and they put them all into one palette that you could purchase. And this is what it looks like. I really like when I look at this today, I really like a lot of colors in here. But when I first got it, I again was overwhelmed because like a lot of these sort of brown colors and orange colors, like to me, they look the same. Like they don't look that different. And I will definitely say that this palette has deterred me from buying any other Morphe palettes that are like this, because I feel like a lot of their 35 pan palettes, I look at them and I'm like, cool, this is your taupe themed palette, and like 18 of these shades look the exact same. Like what do I need them for? I don't. And I really need to figure out if I want to keep this or not, or if I need to pop out certain shadows. Like I just am sort of over having a lot of really big palettes now that I know how long it takes to pan an entire big shadow. And these Morphe palettes have like 1 ton of eye product in here, so you could never actually go through an entire one in a lifetime, in my opinion. I also have one from e.l.f. This is the Ariel Treasure Within beauty book. For like a number of years, e.l.f. was releasing these at Walgreens, and they did different versions of them before Disney like got wise to the makeup money-making machine and started to do like other more pricey collaborations. But this is what this palette looks like. I'm really not sure if I've ever truly played with this. I really don't know if I would keep this in its entirety. I could definitely see myself like popping out a few shades and keeping it, but I need to really scrutinize this. All right, let's round this off. I have one from ColourPop. It is the Golden State of Mind palette. This I got in a BoxyCharm, even though I had bought it myself and then returned it. I really feel like I could love this palette because it really to me says lid shades, like it's a palette of lid shades. But if I recall, when I first bought it and then returned it, there was a ton of fallout. So I need to just pull this out and try it once, and if I have any fallout, just call this a quits. But I just love the look of it. I just don't know how practical it is for my collection. Then I've got this Too Faced Natural Eyes Neutral Eyeshadow Collection. This they replaced the Naked Eye with, and even though I was very gutted about them getting rid of that palette, I did purchase this. This palette really reads true to what my go-to makeup was when I first got into makeup and eyeshadow in particular. The problem is I look at this now and I'm not necessarily super inspired by it. I don't know, it's so weird because a lot of the colors in my Lorac Pro palette that I wiped out first were colors like this, so I don't know why I'm dragging my feet on it, but I need to make a decision about it because it's definitely one of the older palettes in my collection. I also have my Lorac Pro palette. This is a palette that I contemplated panning for a hot second and then called it a quits. I have actually panned 3 shades in this. The reason why I've sort of called it a quits on this is I feel like what I have left in here is really like heavy and dark and crease based and not a whole lot of lid colors. So I feel like this could be a good palette if I do like what's remaining in here. It would be a good palette to pan if I'm still going to test out other eyeshadow in my collection because I really can't rely solely on this alone to pan. I also have my CoverGirl True Naked Nudes. This is the only drugstore palette that I have sitting in the drawer because it's too big to sit with my other like drugstore quad palette stuff. I have played with this a few times, but not enough to decide if I want to keep it or not. Everybody, when this first came out, was talking about how this was a naked dupe, and so I wanted to get it for that reason. But then the last palette that I have that I still haven't taken out of the box is the Urban Decay Naked 1 palette that I bought when they had super discounted it before they got rid of it, and then relaunched it with like the world's most boring ridiculous palette ever. I have pulled this out a couple of times to use it, but I just haven't. I don't know what's going on because again, much like the Too Faced palette, these colors should like be my jam. This is a palette that the makeup artist who did my makeup for my wedding used on my eyes, and I loved my eye makeup. So I don't know why I just haven't touched it, but I have to decide if this can stay or if this can go, because if I don't use, I will say, if I don't use this by the time 2019 ends, I'll probably sell it or do a giveaway with it because I haven't even touched the shades in here. All right, guys, those are a lot of palettes that I have left to play with and make a decision about. I definitely want to achieve that before the end of the year, so that I have a really good handle on what I have in my eyeshadow palette collection and what I want to pan for the upcoming year. But I hope you guys enjoyed seeing what I have left, and if you have any thoughts about any of these palettes, let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you in my next video real soon. Bye.